Angel slipped quietly into his hotel room, the dimly lit corridors of the establishment echoing his cautious footsteps. The weight of the impending extermination pressed heavily on his shoulders, a looming threat that in just a matter of days would force them to defend not only their sanctuary, but also the makeshift family they had painstakingly built within its walls. The hotel, a beacon of hope amidst chaos, had become more than just a refuge. It was their home. With Charlie's unwavering determination and Alastor's cunning assistance, they had successfully persuaded an army of demons from Campbelltown to join their cause. The demons, notorious for their insatiable appetite for flesh, had been easily swayed by the promise of plentiful prey. Convincing the cannibals, however, hadn't been much of a challenge. The mere prospect of available dead flesh was usually enough to rally them to any cause, no matter how dire. Despite the significant support of the demon army now camped menacingly outside the hotel's grand entrance, Angel knew deep down that it wasn't sufficient. The battle ahead would be fierce, and the stakes were too high to rely solely on their current allies. More reinforcements were essential to tip the scales in their favor and ensure their chances of victory. Among the potential allies, Cherri had agreed to participate in the upcoming battle. Her motivation stemmed primarily from the thrill of an all-out brawl rather than a genuine desire to protect the hotel. Her enthusiasm added a layer of unpredictability to their plans, but Charlie had welcomed the additional firepower. As much as Angel resisted the urge to revisit his past, he understood the necessity of reaching out to someone he had long kept at arm's length. The decision weighed heavily on him, knowing it meant exposing part of himself that he preferred to keep buried within. The impending battle demanded every available ally, and there was no room for hesitation. Taking a deep, steadying breath, he retrieved his phone from the pocket of his striped coat and opened his contacts, his fingers trembling slightly as he scrolled through the familiar names. Finally, he selected a specific name, one that had been etched into his memory through the years of shared history and unspoken bond. "Okay, Angel," he muttered to himself, the words barely audible. "Just ask him. If he says no, at least you tried. If he says okay, well, that's something to explain to everyone else later." His mind raced through the possible outcomes, each scenario more daunting than the last, but he knew there was no turning back now. "Hey, Nis," he typed into the chat box, the screen illuminating his face in the dimly lit room. For a brief moment, the text message displayed a delivered notification, followed by a tense wait as Angel's heart pounded in his chest. After a few agonizing seconds, the notification shifted to red. "He knows I'm reaching out," Angel said to himself, a flicker of hope igniting within him. "Por favor, Sotelo, don't leave me hanging here." His fingers drubbed nervously against his thigh as he awaited a response. As though sensing his frustration, the chat box displayed a signature ellipse indicating an incoming reply. "What?" came the single-word response. Angel felt a small smile of satisfaction tug at the corners of his mouth. Arackniss wasn't known for his verbosity. Getting him to say anything more than a handful of words at a time was a rare achievement. Still, this brief exchange was enough to confirm that his older brother had seen the message and was paying attention. "I'm sure the family is aware the extermination is happening in a month," Angel supplied, trying to provide context. There was an ellipsis that appeared briefly and then disappeared, lightly signaling that Arackniss had interpreted this as a rhetorical statement rather than a question. "I'm at the hotel being run by Charlie Morningstar," Angel continued, getting straight to the point. "It will be the first place the exterminators will be attacking." He hoped that this information would resonate with his brother, conveying the urgency of the situation. "This concerns me. How?" Arackniss responded shortly, his terse reply adding to Angel's anxiety. It was clear that his brother was still skeptical, but at least the conversation was progressing. "The hotel isn't the only place those holy freaks will attack," Angel elaborated. "Once they're done with us, they'll move on to the rest of the city. We do have a plan, but we need all the people who can fight." He laid down the broader implications, hoping to impress upon Arackniss the gravity of the threat they faced. "Are you high?" Arackniss's response was immediate and blunt. It was the kind of reply that could easily derail the conversation, but Angel recognized that it meant that he had his brother's full attention now, a crucial step forward. "One of Adam's soldiers was killed by Carmilla Carmine in the extermination earlier this year," Angel explained, digging deeper into the shared history that might compel Arackniss to reconsider. Everyone at the hotel is ready for battle, and we have an army of cannibals armed and ready. If we succeed at this, the exterminations could end. His message was detailed, outlining both the threats and the strategic advantages. Yet after sending it, there was no immediate response, a sign that Arackniss might be losing interest. I know, Angel texted in response, sensing the need to bridge the growing distance. I know I'm no longer part of the family since I've left. Still, you know me well enough to know I wouldn't be contacting you if it wasn't needed. This battle the guys at the hotel and I are going into concerns more than just us. It affects the family too and everyone else. What I'm trying to say here, Fratello, is we could use you and the family in this fight. His plea was heartfelt, emphasizing the collective stakes and the importance of unity in the face of annihilation. Pass, Nis responded succinctly. Don't got the manpower or the family to sacrifice for this whole redemption scheme the princess has cooked up. The rejection stung, each word a dagger to Angel's hopes. The mention of redemption hinted at a deeper conflict and agendas at play, possibly involving higher powers or conflicting motivations within their world. Fratello, Angel responded, desperation seeping into his voice. This is the chance of our afterlives. For once, we have the opportunity to take on the Heaven's army in combat. This isn't about redemption or anything like that. This is about actually standing up to Heaven's oppression and succeeding. He tried to shift the focus from personal redemption to a larger cause, appealing to their shared heritage and a fight against a common enemy. Don't you want to settle the score for all the family members that have been erased over the past decades? I hear ya, Arackniss replied. As I said, the family don't got the guys to spare for what amounts to a suicide mission. You and your buddies are on your own. It was a clear-cut refusal, leaving no room for negotiation or reconsideration. I figured you'd say that, Angel responded, though he wasn't entirely surprised by the outcome. Despite the rejection, the pang of disappointment lingered. Whatever happens, you and Pops, take care of yourselves. His farewell was tinged with disappointment, recognizing the already wide chasm between him and his family had only grown wider over the past 70 years. Closing his phone and slipping it back into his pocket of his coat, Angel took a moment to steady himself, the weight of responsibility sitting firmly on his shoulders as he made his way downstairs, joining his surrogate family in their final preparations for the battle that loomed on the horizon. The atmosphere of the hotel was thick with tension and anticipation. Members of the motley community moved around with purpose, each contributing to the strategic planning and fortifications necessary for the impending conflict. Penchus was commanding the egg boys in labor tasks, preparing weapons and protections for the hotel. Charlie Morningstar, a reluctant but determined leader, coordinated efforts with a blend of authority and empathy, ensuring the morale remained high despite the uncertainty ahead. Vaggie was leading strategy meetings on how the exterminators could be taken out. Unlike the blood family he had known when he was alive, everyone here was allowed to give their opinions and suggestions in battle. Even if a suggestion or an inquiry had to be rejection, the participation was still heard and taken into account, not dismissed. Angel paused at the base of the grand staircase, gazing around the opulent lobby that had become the heart of the resistance. The ornate chandeliers cast a warm glow, illuminating the faces of his companions, each one a testament to the bonds that they had forged over the short span of months, particularly in the fires of adversity. Alastor, with his sly grin and enigmatic presence, oversaw the use of his freakish powers, and helped Charlie adapt to her burgeoning authority. Husk was serving drinks at the bar, but he also had a clear determination to see this through to the end. Cherri bounced energetically, demonstrating her skills in explosives, her enthusiasm infectious. As he traveled forward into the gathering, Angel's mind replayed the conversation with Arackniss. The rejection was a harsh reminder of the choices he had made in the past, and the estrangement that followed the decades since he had divorced himself from his crime family and the BS that came with them. Yet he couldn't afford to dwell on those personal losses. The battle required their unwavering focus and unity. He steeled himself, reminding himself of the stakes at hand, their home, their lives, the fragile hope that their collective efforts could put an end to Adam's extermination, or potentially risk causing further conflict with heaven itself. Adam and his exterminators were dangerous, but they weren't the worst threat heaven had to offer. Vaggie had admitted as much. It wasn't lost on Angel that other heavenly forces such as the powers, the dominions, even the four winds of heaven themselves might need to involve themselves in the perpetual conflict between hell and heaven. Angel was greeted by the sight of his newfound family and allies preparing for the inevitable clash. The air buzzed with a mix of determination and apprehension, each individual acutely aware of the challenges that lay ahead. He exchanged nods and brief words of encouragement, reinforcing the sense of camaraderie that bound them together. "All right, everyone," Charlie's voice rang out, commanding attention. "We've got a week to finalize our plans and strengthen our defenses. Remember, the Exterminators are relentless, so are we. Let's make sure we are ready to give them the fight they won't forget." Angel felt a surge of resolve. They had come this far through sheer willpower and mutual support. The alliance between the demons from Cannibal Town was a testament to their ability to unite desperate forces against a common enemy, and with the combined might of their unconventional army, they stood a fighting chance against the impending onslaught. And while heaven may not be on board with the idea of sinners being redeemed, that didn't mean Charlie's dream wasn't worth fighting for. Just being here, being a part of this, redemption didn't mean being allowed to cross heaven's gates. It was finding another reason to exist and showing you that your afterlife could change for the better. He had seen so many souls arrive here in hell. Some were bastards in life and death didn't change that fact. And yet he had seen so many others who had been good-hearted or at least less than evil in life, only to find themselves in the last place they expected. Despite the protests, the complaints of the unfairness, scouring their lives to see where they messed up enough for heaven to reject them, all sooner or later fell into states of despair or just gave up, finding there was no point in putting in the effort to be good, if heaven was going to reject them regardless. Maybe Charlie had the right idea, but the true goal wasn't to improve enough to meet heaven's standards. The test was to redeem yourself within hell and make it a paradise. Blood ties and familial lineage had no place here. At the same time, he meant his final words to his brother. Should the hotel and this makeshift family fall to Adam's forces, he hoped that Arackniss would at least be able to take care of himself. Despite the rift that existed, his older brother at least had some hope of realizing their father had been using them as pawns in his selfish ambition. The olive branch had been offered, and Nis had the choice to be dragged down to double hell with Pops in the end, or make the choice to lead the family into a better direction towards a brighter future in hell. "Take care of yourself, Fratello," Angel said to himself as he settled at the bar. "They're getting to you now, Angie?" Charlie asked with a sisterly tease as she settled at the bar with him. "Nah," Angel said. "It's more like some attempts at making peace with one of my personal demons." Husk eyed the spider with a somewhat knowing expression, but said nothing. It wasn't his place to ask questions that weren't ready to be answered. He had known for some time that Angel did have secrets that existed beyond everything at the studio. While the spider, like many people at the hotel, had passed that they weren't ready to confront or reveal, Husk wasn't blind to the subtle hints that Angel would throw now and again. Hints that said he wasn't just a porn star, but used that life as a means of concealing a darker reality. A reality that would reveal itself all too soon.